What are your career goals? Do you want to make more money, get a promotion? Maybe you want to find a less stressful job, or maybe you're just trying to hang on after a really rough year. Each year, regardless of how great or terrible the past year was, I go through a professional goal setting exercise for myself. Then I do the same thing as a manager, working through with my team to set professional goals for the coming year. We talk about specific goals they have and help identify ones that maybe aren't as obvious. Then we get into how to achieve them. There are many different ways that you can approach career goal setting. There's two that I turn to every single year, so let's look at what those two methods are. Hi, I'm Jen. I help people build analytics skills and careers with new videos here on this channel every single week. Setting professional goals for your career is similar to setting goals in any area of your life. Most of us have or have had in the past goals that are standalone or isolated. These are just goals that we want to accomplish because maybe it's something we've just always wanted to do, or it's a skill or knowledge that we want to have, but it doesn't lead to anything bigger. It doesn't maybe even directly connect into your career growth or your personal growth. It's just something you want to accomplish. These types of goals are usually pretty short in duration, a year or less. This is the first goal setting approach I use. I don't think every goal that you have always has to tie into a higher purpose. Sometimes you want to do something just because you want to do it. You've always thought it seemed interesting or cool, or it's a knowledge or skill you wanted to have. And if you have goals like that, they shouldn't be excluded just because they don't serve a higher purpose in accomplishing something more. For personal goals, I'd put things like, I want to read 10 books this year, or I want to learn how to bake a certain type of pastry, or I want to run a 5K, or something like that. Those types of goals I'd put into this category. Do they have long-term impacts? Absolutely they can, but in general, they're more isolated things that you want to accomplish. Professional goals can fall into the standalone category. Maybe there's a training that you want to take, a programming language that you've always wanted to learn, a skill that you've wanted to build. They might help you out in your career, but they're not something that's really central to your career growth and development. These are the easy goals to set because you don't have to think too deeply about them. The second type of goal setting that I use, I like to call thinking from the future. With this approach to goal setting, you're really thinking long term, 5, 10, maybe even more years than this. Personally, I like to do this as a combination of professional and personal exercise because things become very intertwined. When I'm doing it as a manager, I keep it to career, but occasionally some of the personal side comes in if people do have personal goals that they want to work towards that tie into that career goal. Maybe they want to eventually start their own business, or there's something else in their personal life that ties into that professional goal setting. I just went through this exercise headed into the next year, and here's the process I used for it. I highly recommend that you set aside a few hours to work on this. This isn't something that you'll necessarily do every year. Once you've done this, if you've done a really solid job the first time, then each year is more of an update than it is a really in-depth session of working through. Next, think about what you want your life to be like. What would your ideal day, week, month, year look like? At this stage, don't get too hung up on where you are now, but also keep it realistic. This isn't an exercise in, if I had unlimited money and unlimited time, what would I be doing? But also don't feel like you are excluding things that feel unreachable at this time, because we're going to get to how do we work towards those goals that are a little more challenging than what we could accomplish very quickly. Think about this in broad terms and don't get into too many specifics. We'll get more specific as we move through the rest of the exercise. Here's some types of things that might show up at this stage. You could say, I want to create or contribute. I want to have an active lifestyle. I want to learn and try new things frequently. I want to feel stability in my lifestyle. None of these are really specific, but speak more to a feeling of what you want life to be like. And that means how your career might be, or your career at least is contributing into this. From here, start to get more specific. Think about which of these goals might tie more to your professional versus your personal life. Almost every goal could be fulfilled in both settings, but that doesn't mean that's where it needs to be fulfilled. For instance, if you like creating, you want to create and contribute, working as an engineer could fall in this category, and professionally you could be satisfying this desire for how you want your life to look. You're creating, designing, contributing to new things that often help others in the work that you're doing as a professional. But it wouldn't have to be. And that career of creating and contributing could take a different form. A chef could fall in that same category. Or maybe in your personal life, regardless of what your job is, you want to be creating and contributing. You want to bake or cook different things. You want to create art. You want to volunteer your time with local organizations. Those creating and contributing activities, goals can really be accomplished in multiple different ways. And the solution that's right for one person may not be right for another person. And the level of fulfillment that you want out of your job varies from person to person. Since this video is focused on professional goal setting, let's move into the real thinking from the future exercises specific to your career goals. When we think from the future, we focus on the future state, that ultimate goal we want to achieve, and we work backwards to look at how could we take action to lead up to achieving that goal. Let's use as an example that you want to be in a particular role in the future. Maybe you want to be in a management position, maybe you want to be in a senior technical position. Regardless, what training or experience do you need to be in that role? Don't worry about where you are now. Just think about that specific role. Is there a degree that you need? Is there a certain level of experience you need? Are there certain skills that you have to get into that role? Maybe you're thinking about a no-code analytics role, in which case your goal would be to learn a no-code or low-code software so that you can get certified to help prepare you for that role. The next thing to think about is, what's the step just before that? If we're talking about certification in a software, then the step right before getting certified would be to work on training, building up knowledge in that skill so that you can take the certification exam. Repeat this exercise until you get back to where you are currently. Then if you look at it facing the other direction, you have a plan laid out of how to get from where you are to that future state, that future objective or goal that you have. We started this exercise in a really undefined way. We wanted to talk about big picture, what we wanted things to feel like, to be like, but we weren't too specific. On those short goals, we'll want to get really specific. We'll want to have SMART goals. That is, we want goals that are specific, measurable, achievable even if they're a stretch, relevant, and time-bound. If you're setting professional goals for 2021 using this method, we've already taken care of relevant and time-bound. We're time-bound because 2021 is our time frame, or maybe something shorter if you decide. And it's relevant because we've gone through this exercise of ultimately where do we want to be so that we can make sure that what we're working on is relevant to that. Get specific. Exactly what do you want to accomplish this year? And make it measurable. So once you say this is what I want to accomplish, how do you measure whether you accomplished it or not? For training, maybe it could be that you want to take a particular course. For certification, it's getting the certification or not getting the certification. Make sure your goal is achievable. It's great to stretch yourself, but if you're in an entry-level position and you set a goal that you want to be a senior vice president by the end of the year, that's probably not so achievable. It doesn't mean that you couldn't eventually be there at some point in time, but it's not a very realistic goal for a one-year time frame. A good SMART goal for 2021 could be get Tableau Desktop Specialist certified. It's specific. You want to get a certification, and not only just a general certification, but a very specific certification. It's measurable. You get the certification or you don't get the certification. It's achievable. Anyone with a decent amount of effort in a relatively short time period could learn how to do this. If you want to know specifically on this goal, check out a link below to a training I have that in less than a day will get you pretty much up to speed on where you need to take the certification exam. It's relevant if you're a data analyst, and even if you're not. Data visualization and Tableau are both skills that will serve you well to communicate information to others. And lastly, we're time bound because this is a goal that we want to achieve in 2021. Combine the results of both approaches and these give you your goals for 2021. The only thing left to check is that once you've created all of these different goals, that it's realistic to do all of them at the same time, that there's not too much going on that's going to end up meaning none of them get accomplished, or you get frustrated because only one or two things get accomplished, but you decided there were 20 things that were priority. You can't really have 20 priorities at the same time. What are your professional goals for 2021? Let me know down in the comments. If your goal is to build your skills as an analyst or to get into your first analytics job, check out the resources down in the description to help you do that. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't, and I hope I'll see you back next week.